Welcome, everybody, to Go Local Live. I'm Josh Fenton, CEO and co-founder. Some breaking news. There's more investigations into the City of Minneapolis Police Department. That's just been announced by the Justice Department. And closer to home, Theater by the Sea said they will not operate this summer because of COVID restrictions and limitations that they have with the Screen Actors Guild. So much more on that on Go Local, but let's go to the Mott Chace visit. Nelson Taylor from the Blacksotne team is here. Nelson, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me again, Josh. I'm psyched to be here.
Yeah, so real estate, it is maybe the most interesting part of the economy right now, especially in Rhode Island, where we're seeing prices go up and through the roof, and it looks like there's no end in sight.
Yep, still the same story. Low inventory, low rates, and high buyer demand.
And are you, we talked, I don't know, about 2 months ago, roughly. Are you surprised more houses haven't jumped into the market as vaccinations increase and the prices are so high that if you've been delaying for a couple of years because of numerous potential issues, COVID being the major one, that more people aren't looking to take advantage from the seller standpoint of this market?
Right. Well, I mean, just to recap, I think everybody knows that, the market is nuts. A property remotely well priced is going to get 40, 50 showings in the first couple of days and 10 offers taking the value of the property way over the list price. What I think is going to change this market is just what you're talking about. I think more and more sellers are going to get the message that their properties are worth much more than they thought they were, and they're going to do whatever they can to take their equity off the table. Just from our team, the Blacksotne team, we're talking to clients about go rent a beach house for a year. Go take some time off, do something fun, let the market settle down, and then come back into it.
Yeah, go rent a hotel room for $100 a night.
Right.
Like literally. Most nice hotels during the week are $100 a night in the Providence market. So It is just a crazy period of time. I have to say, I'm surprised that sellers aren't, as they get more comfortable, especially older Rhode Islanders who have big houses and are looking for to capture some of this windfall, haven't been looking to put their property on the market.
Well, it's certainly happening. I mean, this crazy, dare I say, bubble? Do we use that word? We've been in it only about 8 or 10 weeks, so it's still very new, in the grand scheme of things. And if you think about most closing periods are about 60 days. A lot of the comparables, a lot of the comps haven't even closed yet. So we are certainly receiving, as a team, more and more calls from sellers wanting to take advantage of this. So I think we're going to see more inventory. Certainly spring every year brings more buyer demand. But I think we're going to see more inventory, more and more. And I also think we're going to start seeing sellers and agents putting on properties for way too much money. And those properties are therefore going to sit, and I think we're going to start to see the days on market start to come down a bit because of that.
So, we've talked to some of your teammates in Mott Chace around the state, down from Westerly, Jamestown, et cetera, and especially in the southern part of the state, a significant portion of the buyers are from out of state. They're seeing a lot of New York and a lot of Boston, especially for those homes that may be dual-faced, both summer options as well as year-round. How much of the Providence buyers are coming from out of state, especially from the Boston market?
Well, we see a lot from Boston. I mean, in many senses, Providence is a bedroom community of Boston. But we see it every time. When Boston gets crazy, and people are priced out of, condos, single families, whatever, in the outskirts of Boston, they start looking in Providence. So we still are an extreme value as compared with the Boston market. So that is certainly happening. What we're also seeing, we don't have a lot of vacation properties on the east side of Providence or in the area. Certainly, obviously in South County, but we're seeing a lot of investors coming into the Providence market from all over the country. So there have been a lot of big sales of big multifamily properties on the east side.
And is that sort of REITs driven, or is that just private investors looking to expand their portfolios?
Both. It's mostly private, smaller investors looking to expand portfolios.
I lost you in my ear. Give me 1 second. Sorry, Nelson. I left off with my question about REITs versus private investors looking at Providence.
Right. Yes, it's mostly private investors or smaller portfolio types of folks, but certainly coming in from Boston, New York City, all over the country.
And what impact is that having? I mean, we wrote about the story about the property. I think the Blacksotne team was marketing it over on De Pasquale.
Right. Right.
You know, built in the 1990s under the Cianci administration, HUD money. This houses went for $40,000. You guys were marketing at $395. I believe it's got an offer now.
We've got an offer on that.
And you know, we've never seen that. We've never seen houses in a neighborhood like that move into the 3s and 4s.
Right. Right. So yeah, that property got multiple offers, and it bid up quite significantly over the asking price. And that's something that I find very interesting about the market is that this sort of first-time home buyer price range. We are seeing such crazy activity on those that those are being bid up 15, 25, 30% over the asking price, where if you go into more of the 600 to sort of the 800 range, it's more like 8 to 12% over the asking price. So essentially what's happening is you've got a whole market that's sort of being removed. This $300,000 property this house no longer exists.
And that takes a whole segment of the middle class out of being home purchasers. I mean,
right.
If you're the average middle class couple in your early 30s and, she makes 80 and you make 70, you've got $150,000 household income and you have some money set aside, but you don't have hundreds of thousands. Can you compete at all?
It's hard to compete, but certainly, areas change, go up and down. So, there are other neighborhoods that are, $200,000 to $300,000 neighborhoods. But even those properties are seeing this extreme competition as well. We're finding it harder and harder for people with FHA or VA types of mortgages, people that can't waive their financing contingency or can't cover shortfall in the appraisal because they don't have that cash. They're finding it very, very hard to compete in this marketplace.
Nelson, talk a little bit about that $1 million to $2 million. It's funny. It seems like the best value on the east side, not that everyone can afford it, obviously, it seems to be in that sort of $1.3 to $1.6 million. Big, beautiful, grand houses. In College Hill, the East Side proper, Blacksotne area, one went over on Cook Street, really grand houses. They don't seem to be going as crazy from a price standpoint.
So no, I mean there's less people to purchase those price ranges, though that market is extremely strong. They are all snapping off the market. But you're not seeing them with multiple bidders and going 10, 20% over the asking prices there.
And what do you see next? Do you see, listen, sellers, I've always got to make it because the plug for it, it's the coolest tool ever. It's called sell.mottandchace.com. And you can plug in an address and then get 3 different estimations of what a property is valued at. So it's a cool tool for sellers to be able to say, what could I potentially get? It's a range and it's 3 different tools, but where do you see folks going over the next few months?
I think, just like I was talking before, I think we are going to see the market settle down a bit. I think we're going to have inventory, people trying to get too much for their properties, being too greedy, and have the market push back a little bit. I do see a lot of buyers pulling out of the market because they're just not willing to compete at this level. So I think with those 2 things, you're going to see a settling down of this market. Is it going to take 2 months? Is it going to take 6 months? I don't know. If I did know, I'm in the wrong business. But I don't think we're going to be seeing this a year from now.
You don't think we'll see it a year from now? Some have argued we could see it worse because interest rates are going to stay low, according to the Fed. That seems to be the direction that they're going in. The longer the time period goes on of dealing with COVID, more young couples need that extra bedroom for a child. More people are having life changes. They at least think they need a bigger house or a different house. So could we see, if COVID continues to play out over the next 6 to 9 months, even greater demand and even crazier pricing?
Demand's going to remain strong, and I think it's still going to remain an amazing time to sell a property. And it can be argued that it's an amazing time to buy a property with rates so low and such a strong market. For the East Side, we say in one cycle, which is 10 to 12 years, you're going to make about 50% back on your property. You hold it for 2 cycles, 20, 24 years, you're going to double your money on your property. So still an amazing investment, but I'm not sure how long, we can put a house on the market for $399,000 and see it get bid up to $530,000. Like how long can that last? And what's the next cycle? The next property comes on at 530. Is it now getting bid up further? I think it's going to settle back a little bit. I think numbers have gotten so crazy that there's going to be a little air let out of the balloon.
Nelson, you get the final word. If you're talking to sellers across the region, what's your advice to sellers right now?
Get your market on the property as soon as possible. And really, I'm laughing, but it is the truth. We are talking to people about how to take advantage of what's going on out there right now, and we don't know how long it's going to last. If that equity, if that 10, 20%, 30% equity that wasn't there 6 months ago, if that's important to you and very valuable to you, sell your property, take your equity off the table, figure out another situation for a year, wait till the market settles down, and then come back in.
Well, let me ask you one question. Usually, if you were getting ready to sell your house, you had to maybe clean up the outside, the exterior, get that drive-by look looking sharp. Maybe you wanted to paint that den that looks a little dingy. Does the market still require that, or forget all those rules, get it on the market?
The same old rules apply. Okay. You need to put your best foot forward. You're still in competition. Those properties that are the sharpest, in the best shape, are going to get the most offers. So that's absolutely what you want. One thing that I did do we have a second?
Sure, take your time.
So, one thing that we're seeing in the marketplace is, obviously with the extreme competition, we have buyers who are, pulling back all their contingencies, but they are putting on escalation clauses, right, to say, I will bid so much more above the highest competing bid up to X price. There's always been a cap on what that X price is. We now are seeing buyers say no cap. I will pay $10,000 over the highest competing bid, no matter what it is. Right? So, and it's a little bit of a game, which, we have seen several times when we've gone back to this person and said, okay, you win. They're like, oh, well, I didn't think it was going to go that high. So they actually pull out and don't buy it. But what they've essentially done by putting that no cap offer in is kind of pushed up all the other offers. So there's a lot of this sort of, this funny business in the marketplace that is just driving everything up. And I'm just not sure how long this can last.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like a healthy structure in the long run. You and I have seen enough cycles that when the gamesmanship gets like that, there's usually a bad ending, unfortunately for everybody involved. Listen, I thank you so much for taking the time. Always appreciate Nelson Taylor from the Blacksotne team at Mott Chace Sotheby's International Realty. Always insightful and giving sort of the best advice and thoughts about what's going on in the real estate market. For everybody else, stay tuned. We'll be back at 1:30 with Dr. Michael Fine. Some interesting developments. Hospitalizations in Rhode Island have been up. Cases are all over the place, and big concerns about what's going on in India and what those new variants are looking like, potentially what they have to be as an implication to the entire globe because of how well some of the vaccines are performing against those variants. For everybody, stay safe. Please wear your mask. I'm looking forward to summer. It's beautiful weather out today. It's a little preview to summer. Let's all stay healthy, get vaccinated, and wear your mask. Thanks, everybody.